Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday Spot on the Pagan Perspective, and this week we're talking about incorporating environmental consciousness into your spiritual practice. So this week's topic comes from Emma Loves, and they write, "I'd love to see how to incorporate environmental consciousness into spiritual practice." Okay, as far as in conjunction with my spiritual practice, it's not really something that is in the forefront of my practice. It's not something that has really been incorporated in my practice uh, since its inception. However, it's becoming more and more part of my practice uh, as the years go on, as I become more environmentally conscious and environmentally aware of my impact on the world around me. So, here are some things that I have looked up that I either can do or am doing. This comes from list25.com. If you guys have not visited List25's channel, they have a ton of different lists of 25 um, things here and there, and they span a lot of different topics. And I absolutely have become enthralled with their channel. And if you have the time right now that you are looking for a channel to watch, List 25 is a good one to watch. So I'm going by their top 25 ways to be environmentally conscious. So this isn't necessarily with my practice, this is with my life in general. So first one up on this list 25 is recycling plastic, papers, and clothes, etc. I don't really have a recycling program in the house right now. I try to, whenever possible, recycling papers, and um, I've actually gone through years worth of papers, and I have them all set aside to be utilized as kindling in our little fire pit that is outside. So maybe not the most environmentally conscious thing, but at least I'm not burning something that has chemicals and stuff like that. It is paper. I'm not using like a butane torch to light a log. So not exactly the most environmentally friendly thing to do. However, I'm trying to be a little bit more responsible in what I do and how I do it. As far as the plastics and clothes and whatnot, I do donate my clothes, which is actually on this list as well. I haven't really recycled plastic as much. I am in the middle of trying to retrieve my recycling bins so I can partake in the recycling program that our neighborhood has set up. Another thing that they have on here is donating old items. I absolutely do that right now. As you guys know, I do have a business that I buy and sell antiques and collectibles. And whenever I come up to something that either doesn't sell for as much or is not my field of interest, but still has lifespan left in it, I try to donate that whenever possible. However, that's not always the case. Some things are broken to the point where it is actually more dangerous for other people to have it, such as if I had a glass that was broken. If this glass had a chip in the rim here, it would not be safe for other people to utilize. You get what I'm saying. So in those cases, I would either recycle or throw that out. Conserving electricity at home, I try to do that whenever possible. I actually yell at somebody a lot about leaving lights on. But that takes me into one of my other things that I have done around the house. I have replaced all the bulbs with more energy efficient light bulbs. So it's still a big deal that you're utilizing electricity. However, the electricity that we do use is a lot less due to the light bulbs that are installed. I also try to use, if we need space heaters or something like that, try to use those at a bare minimum. I actually have one going right now because it is fairly chilly in the house, but I only utilize a space heater when I'm in the room and need to utilize it. I am more of a fan of bundling up. As you can see, I'm actually wearing a long sleeve shirt right now, and if you can hear that outside, that's my neighbor's truck. It's very noisy. However, they're good neighbors. So, actually, no, that was a motorcycle. Never mind. Don't know whose it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I do like to layer up. I usually like to wear sweatshirts. I have a couple bulkier sweatshirts that are, or sweaters that are in the wash right now, and I'm waiting for those to come out. But I do have this long sleeve T-shirt that I'm wearing today to keep me a little bit more warm. I try to do that instead of utilizing electricity or utilizing either space heaters or burning oil for the furnace. So that's something that I like to do. Uh, Using water responsibly, I do try to use that. I actually, although it is not as much environmentally friendly because of the electricity, I utilize a Keurig to heat my water for my tea. So here's the tea. I actually have Bigelow chai tea. Pretty good. Anyway, I use the Keurig to give me hot water for my tea. Now, I don't leave the Keurig on like all the time. It's not constantly running. I put the water in the reservoir, and as I need it, I'm utilizing it. It's not something that goes to waste. Another thing is, whenever I do use the tea kettle and I put the water in a teapot to brew tea, if I'm going to sit around for longer times of tea, I will utilize a teapot. Again, utilizing only the water necessary to make the tea and not really wasting any of it. I drink my tea until it is all gone. So I try to conserve as much water as possible whenever possible. Choosing locally grown produce over imported ones, that's one thing that we've actually done around the house here, is that we are making a garden. My boyfriend more than me. He has a little bit greener of a thumb and has more of an interest in doing that, seeing that he is renovating the backyard to his liking. So whenever he's doing the backyard, he's also, figuring out where the best place is for whatever plants he has envisioned for that area. So yesterday we planted the cucumbers, and let's see, we have some spinach that was growing really nicely. Now's not doing as hot. We're growing broccoli and stuff like that, stuff that we will use in the household here. So that is one thing that we are currently doing, is trying to grow our own fruits, our own vegetables, and being able to utilize them throughout the year. Another thing that they have on here is cloth instead of disposable diapers. We do not have little ones in this house that require diapers of any sort, so none of us require diapers, something that we can avoid there. Shifting from regular light bulbs to fluorescent, or the compact fluorescent ones, that's something that I've already talked about. And I actually use the daytime fluorescent ones. They actually give a more bright view rather than the soft white. That, for me, being one that doesn't let as much light into their eyes, is actually giving more of a true view of colors. And I think it's actually a game changer. It's almost like the lights that they use for like the stage lighting or whatever, the lights with the umbrellas and all that stuff. Yeah, the lighting kits. You guys know, all y'all YouTubers, you know the types of lights I'm talking about. The light boxes and whatnot. It's kind of that bright where right now I don't have to utilize those lights. So energy efficient light bulbs and the magnitude of light that I require for videos, yes please. Recycling old newspaper. I already talked about how we utilize paper in this household. Another thing with the newspapers, whenever I get newspapers, which is very rare, is we take them over to the store that I have, the antique shop that I have, and we utilize that for wrapping rather than buying a roll of packing paper or anything like that. So yes, I utilize that for packing stuff myself whenever I'm packing things to ship out if I sell it on eBay and whatnot. Using reusable containers when buying water. So we don't really have water delivered here. We don't really we drink water like on demand. We just right out of the faucet type thing. So this isn't really something that pertains to us. However, I do have like the sports bottles, the little shaker bottles that we utilize whenever we go anywhere. That we fill those up, whether it be with juice or water or whatnot. So I rarely buy bottled water, and I kind of try to stay away from doing that. Taking shorter baths, I usually take a shower because it's quicker, it's easier. Very rarely do I ever take a bath because, for one, it uses more water and you're, sitting there soaking. I don't usually have the time for that, and I will occasionally do it, but I'm not one to really sit in a bath for that long, usually because it gets too cold and I don't have a tub where my knees can actually be submerged in water. So, one day I will. So, that's something that I don't usually utilize within this household is the tub itself. Planting a tree. I am not planting trees right now. We are actually planting little plants and flowers and stuff like that. We do have a number of trees on the property that do help out. Turning off lights whenever they're not in use, a big pet peeve of mine. I don't want to, pay for extra utilities, and I want to be a little bit more conscious of the environmental impact that I have. So, maintaining your own vehicle. I don't maintain my own vehicle myself. I have a mechanic that I take it to that works on it and whatnot. So they keep it up and running. This is one that I have not done, but I would like to get more into. I have the resources to do it, and that's choosing paper bags over plastic bags. However, instead of choosing paper, I want to choose cloth more often. I have the cloth bags in this house. As I'm going through everything, I'm uncovering more and more of them because in all the states I go into, the more and more I go into them, the more and more I find these cloth bags. So I'm trying to utilize the cloth bags more. It's not something that I've implemented in this household yet, but I need to do that because I do have them. I do have a stack of them, and keeping them in my truck or in my my boyfriend's car is not that difficult of a thing to do in order to not have a mountain of plastic bags. On the flip side of this, whenever I do have plastic bags, I utilize them either for the flea markets whenever I would go out to do the flea markets, or I utilize them for cleaning out the litter box for jelly. So I do utilize those plastic bags whenever I have them or whenever I need to use them. They are there. It's not like they go bad. It's, they're there. They're waiting to be used. I also give them to other vendors at the flea market so they can utilize them. So those bags, at least in this household, the majority of the time will not end up in a garbage bag to go out to the curb. Using rechargeable batteries. Most of my devices are, the phone, the iPad, stuff like that have rechargeable batteries. I used to use a flip camera to record my videos whenever I was in Korea, and I did use rechargeable batteries. The thing with that is the flip camera could store, I think it was like 2 hours worth of video, and my batteries would recharge in about half an hour, on the speedy charge. So I could actually have a set of batteries on charge. I could be recording a video, and by the time I'm done with that and have it onto my computer, I can have the batteries from the charger, switch them out, and record another video while everything else is going on. So I could actually record and do a recording marathon in that nature with having the rechargeable batteries. Not something that I've used lately, but I don't have many things that require batteries, so something I can kind of avoid. Don't leave the water on while I'm brushing my teeth. Not really an issue in this house. I usually don't let it run. So, eating less meat, I need to, and this is something that I know I need to do, is cut back on some of the meats that I'm eating. Eat more vegetables, eat more fruits, stuff like that. Even eating smaller portions. I am not one to go vegetarian or vegan. I like the idea of it. It's just something that I enjoy eating meat. And we've already had the discussion on this topic a few years back. I remember doing a video on it. So I like to eat meat, so maybe eating less meat would be better. They also say on number 7 here to green up your life using solar panels instead of traditional energy or electric. Also, growing your own food and making your own cleaning products. I have not tried to make my own cleaning products. That's something on my list to do. I have looked into doing solar panels on my house because, for one, it takes your bill down to next to nothing and it helps out with the environment, and it's a shared resource depending on the company that you have it done through. So that is something that I have looked into in the past, and the company that I was dealing with said I did not qualify for it. So I would like to go and see about this program again. As far as growing our own food, I have already talked about that. Hanging clothes out to dry. I just got our drying racks. I mentioned last week that this time of the year, or at least this year, is about cleaning and getting things cleaned up around the house and getting things organized while we are in this state of flux in life. And one thing that I just pulled out of the garage was drying racks for clothes. And my dryer is terrible, so this is actually something that hanging your laundry out to dry is something that I am all for. As long as if this rain holds out, because we have been getting so much rain that nothing would ever get dry. Cutting up your old clothes to use them as rags, I have done that, and I usually have enough rags around here to utilize those. I do try to utilize my clothes until they are threadbare and wearing thin. In fact, I actually have shirts, like t-shirts, from when I went to basic training that have my man number or my identification number on the collar. And it's remarkable because they've been in there, like in my wardrobe for the last, 14 years? So, yeah, I have shirts that are well over 14 years old that I'm still wearing, and they are still kind of usable, at least around the house, not necessarily in public. Being particular about the fish that you eat, I'm not a big fish eater. My partner is a little bit more of a fish eater. We usually only eat, like, tuna, and that's very rare for us. Replacing electric-powered appliances with hand-powered ones. Can openers, the best can openers ever are the ones that you do with your hands. As far as coffee grinders, I don't usually grind my coffee. I do have the little K-cups, and I need to start getting away from using the K-cups and using the reusable little K-cups. That's something I did because it's easier. And I realized that that is something that I might want to curtail. So, or recycle the little K-cups and, find a way of recycling those and using the coffee inside. My mother's actually done this in the past, is using the coffee inside as compost. So, I can actually do that as well. Using matches instead of lighters. I have lighters galore. I've found them, like, in every estate that I've cleaned out. The person that was occupying my house before I came back from Florida had a huge collection of lighters. I don't know why, if it was something that he was selling or if he actually collected them. But I have a huge box of lighters. I do prefer using matches whenever possible. As far as the portability of them, I do like to use lighters more often. But whenever I'm in like the witchy room or whenever I'm around the house, I would prefer to use matches because they are more environmentally friendly. And the last one that they have on their list is use recycled aluminum and glass, and that also takes me into another tangent of I am one that also recycles metal because, well, for one, you get money for scrap. So I actually take metal to the scrap yard and, turn it in. You get a couple bucks out of it, you feel good about it, and, you get a lot of metal out of your way. It doesn't end up in a landfill, it gets reused, it's something that I like to do, and I have a yard full of metal that is about to, whenever the scrap yards reopen, that will be getting separated and taken over to the scrapyard. So that's something that I am actually going to be partaking in, is recycling the metal. As far as the glass and all that, we do have pickup available in our town here that they will come and pick all that stuff up. So, yeah, all of that stuff. Thank you, List25, for the inspiration to redo this video because, like I said, this isn't something that is normally part of my spiritual practice. It's something that's more to do with my life and my impact on life. Now, one question that I have for you guys is I do have some trees that need to be trimmed. The ones that I mentioned last week, the cherry blossom ones, or the ones I believe are cherry blossoms, do need to be trimmed back. Now I'm waiting for the blossoms to come off and, them just to be regular trees with leaves. And I'd like to get your opinions on those. It's not cutting them down entirely, it's just trimming them back. And it's more because of public safety and because of safety of property. Another thing that I'm doing is the window that is right like behind the computer here. Underneath that window on the outside are two or three bushes that get pretty unwieldy, and the vines off the bushes end up going into the siding and whatnot. So I've had to cut those back. Now, is it better to keep the I think it might even be maybe 4 bushes. But anyway, is it better to keep the 4 bushes, or is it better to have a line of flowers and everything, something that's aesthetically pleasing, but also foliage? Which is better? And I'm not really sure on the answer on this one. Should I let the bushes grow again and repopulate and just maintain them a little bit better than I have in the past? And I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. So if you can please leave a comment in the bottom bar in the comment section below, it would be much appreciated. We are not on next week. The regular hosts are not on next week. I think it's just subs week, right? Yes. So I will see you on May 4th. So until then, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.